Hi and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make churros, traditional delicious churros. So these are the ingredients we're going to need. So we're going to use 2.5 cups of water, and we're going to put them in a pot to warm up with a stick of cinnamon, and we're going to put that to cook for 15 minutes. And then we're going to use a cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Once our churros are done, we're gonna dunk them in there to give them that outside layer of sugar and cinnamon. If you don't want to put more cinnamon on your churros, you don't have to. This is an option. So to cook our churros, we're gonna need about 2.5 cups of oil. We're using vegetable oil. You could use canola oil, whatever oil you want to use. But you're gonna need at least 2.5 cups to 3 cups of oil. And then we're gonna use 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. We're gonna use 1 stick of butter, 3 eggs, half of a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and we're gonna use 1/3 cup of sugar. And that's the ingredients we're gonna need to do our churros. Another thing, I'm gonna use a cookie press. So this is what I'm gonna use to squeeze the churro dough to cook it. I'm gonna use the cookie press, but you could use an inexpensive cake decorating kit. This, we got it at the dollar store. You could use this, or if you don't even have this, you could just use a Ziploc bag and put your dough in there, and then make a little hole in the corner and squeeze it out from the corner, and that's how you can make your churros. So we're gonna get started. So the first thing we're gonna do to do our churros, we're gonna put our 2.5 cups of water, and we're gonna turn on our pot, and we wanna boil this water with the cinnamon stick. And we're gonna put it on medium high, and we're gonna put the cinnamon stick, and we're gonna cover it. Add our 2.5 cups of oil. It's 2.5 cups. If your pot is too extended, you're gonna need to have more oil in there. So I think we're gonna add another cup of oil. So we're gonna end up using 3.5 cups of oil. If you use a smaller pot to cook your churros, then you're fine with 2.5 cups of oil. But I think we're gonna have to add 1 more cup to make it enough depth for your churros to cook well. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna sift our flour. So we're gonna start passing our flour through and sift it out. So now we're gonna start mixing all our ingredients. So we have 2.5 cups of water. So here we have 2.5 cups of water with the cinnamon flavor, because we cooked it for 15 minutes. So we're adding it warm to our. So now we're gonna start mixing our ingredients to make our dough for our churros. So we're gonna start mixing. So we're gonna add our vanilla. We're gonna add our salt, half of a teaspoon of salt, and we're gonna add our 1/3 cup of sugar. And once that is nice and mixed in there, once we give it a good mix in there, then we're gonna add our butter. So now that everything looks nice and mixed, let me stop it for a second and make sure nothing's stuck to the bottom. Make sure everything's nice and dissolved. Okay, so now that everything's nice and dissolved, we're gonna add our butter. So it's 1 stick of butter. we're gonna mix it. And our butter's gonna melt in there. So now that our butter's dissolved, now we're gonna start to add our flour. And we just wanna make sure that it gets a good mix in there. So we're just gonna start to add it all in there. So I'm just putting half a cup at a time. So now that we let our batter cool down, now we're gonna add 3 eggs to it. So I'm mixing the 3 eggs. So we're gonna start adding them to our batter. And because I don't want my batter to get any more overworked, we're gonna just do it with our spatula. So here we are, we're gonna move our egg, mix it with our... So here's our batter. We already added the eggs and mix it pretty well. So now we're good. We're gonna start to make our churros. I think I found that I put too much water on my batter for the churros, so I ended up adding more flour. So that's what you could do. If you realize that you added a little bit too much of water to your batter, you could always add more flour. So now we're gonna add our batter to our dough press so we can start making our churros. So we're just gonna start putting the batter in here, and then we're gonna start cooking our churros. And we already turned on the stove for the hot oil. Once the hot oil is ready, we're gonna start cooking our churros. So we're gonna test our oil just by squeezing a little bit in there. Let's see what happens. So it looks like it's hot, but I don't think it's there yet. I think it still has a little bit more to go. It's hot, but not as hot as it should be. So we can start making our churros. So we're gonna wait about another 3 minutes. I have it on number 4, so I'm gonna put it on number 5. So we want medium heat. We don't wanna burn our oil either. While we're waiting for our oil to get hot, what we did, we mixed the cup of sugar with the 2 teaspoons full of cinnamon. And we're just mixing it, and this is where we're gonna put our churros once we're done cooking. So this is parchment paper that I'm using. You could use foil paper, you could use a plastic bag. You can use anything you have to mix it around. And this is 1 cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And we already mixed it. So this is what we're gonna use when we dunk our warm churros in here. So here we go. Our oil's already ready. So we're gonna start adding some churros in our dough, in our oil. And there you go. We're making our homemade churros. See this one? This is the sample that I put in there to make sure that it was ready for our oil. So that's what you do. You throw a little sample in there. And once it browns like that, you know that your oil's hot enough to start making your churros. So I'm gonna take the little sample out. Because if your oil's not hot enough, it's just gonna, your churros gonna absorb all the oil, and it's not gonna be a good taste when you eat your churro and it tastes like pure oil. But if it's hot, it's gonna brown them on both sides. We're just gonna turn them over and then you take them out and they're gonna taste delicious. So now we're gonna start to turn them. See how nice and beautiful? You don't want to put too much at the same time because then you're gonna get overwhelmed. Oh, this one looks like a saxophone. So we're gonna do like a little bit at a time and keep on going. So now that we let them get the excess oil out of them, we're gonna put them here in the sugar. So what you do, you just dunk them in the sugar, both sides. I added sugar and cinnamon because I like it. If you don't like too much the cinnamon flavor, it's a little bit too strong for you, you could just don't put the cinnamon, just add the sugar. And there you go. Here we go. We have our delicious churros already ready. And we're gonna keep on going. And here's our final product. We're done. Look at all the churros that came out. And we still have more dough to go, but I wanted to show you how delicious the churros are. And I'm gonna taste one of them. Delicious. Look, it's crunchy from the outside, but in the inside it's nice and soft. And it tastes delicious. And I'm gonna eat my churro with a cup of coffee. You could always eat your churros and have hot chocolate or coffee. But this is my recipe on homemade churros. Thank you for coming to my channel. Hope you like my recipe.